everyone, hope you're having a wonderful night. So God of War just got new DLC Valhalla. I did a review for it. I think it's exceptional. Now, Dave Jaffy is the creator of God of War, Twisted Metal. He kind of stopped making games and went into content creation. He has a very rich history of game development. But his takes on the new God of War franchise have been very, negatively received by a lot of people. But he stated that he liked the games. Like, he didn't really like God of War Ragnarok, but he did like God of War 4. But recently I saw this article where, it probably moved my face here. God of War creator thinks the character of Kratos took the wrong turn. Now, I think this article's title is misleading in a lot of ways because I've actually watched the entirety of his video. And I recommend you go watch. We're not going to watch it together. I recommend you go watch it and forge your own opinion. But the way that he states it is that basically he compares it to Indiana Jones, where the recent Indiana Jones movies like the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull moving forward, they were trying to turn him into something that wasn't really Indiana Jones. It really doesn't pay tribute to the original films. And his argument is that if you want to create a brand new franchise and create your own rules and identity, that's fine. But creating a game that doesn't fit within the pen, that's the metaphor he uses, in order to craft the story, doesn't very mesh well with God of War and Kratos. Now, between the events of God of War, Kratos is about 1,000 years old. In the Greece games, I remember in Ascension, he's like 20. He's in his mid-early 20s, and he's about 27 when he makes his deal with Ares. So he is very, very old and has gone through a lot of changes. He even states throughout God of War Valhalla and God of War Ragnarok, if he trained Atreus to be a Spartan like he was trained, he would have likely turned out to be like Magni and Modi, like how they were terribly treated by Sif and Thor and his grandfather Odin and his their uncle Balder just treated them as punching bags to be used as tools. But yeah, Kratos has gone through a lot of evolution, and with Valhalla, the story is basically a way to mix and bring in the old trilogy with the new games, and I thought they did it very tastefully. And we're going to read this article and see what they have to say. In the recent video released by creator of God of War series Dave Jaffy, we can see Jaffy's not fond of the direction PlayStation took regarding the franchise, in particular Kratos himself. I would say he's actually very civil about it. He actually does create a very good argument of why he thinks that Kratos went not in the wrong direction, but that how they're trying to expand the pen that he's in to elaborate more on him as a personality. Valhalla does that exceptionally well, and I would argue one of the first games to kind of try and test the waters with this would be Chains of Olympus, where Kratos had to choose between staying in Elysium with his daughter Calliope. I should take this out, but yeah, he had a choice between staying in Elysium with his daughter Calliope or try and stop the Queen of the Underworld from destroying all of Greece, Elysium included, the underworld, everything. So in that regard, it was limited by the PSP's limitation. That game came out on the PSP where you just tapped circle. I can't find the interview, as I looked everywhere, but I remember Cory Barlog talking about how they wanted to make that scene a lot more impactful like they did in the more recent God of War games. And you can also see those types of emotion in Kratos in a lot of the games. God of War Ascension, I know that's one of the more hated of the God of War franchise, but during the ending, when you're in the final boss facing the sisters of I forgot what their names are. I'm really bad with names, but when you're facing the final boss, they are mocking him after he killed his wife and daughter Lysandra, and they show that he can't really take it. And in Valhalla, they also expand on it of why he doesn't really talk about Lysandra, and he has a really good point. The franchise, what the hell is this? The franchise initially focused on hack and slash gameplay, extreme violence, and edgy storyline. I mean, it's still there. It's just more mature, I would say. However, the series concluded with a trilogy and spin-offs in 2018. God of War received a soft reboot that portrayed Kratos in a much more mature and nuanced manner, reflecting the developers' own experience as they became parents. Yeah, and it also highlights that Kratos has learned a lot through his travels. Like, he's had a long time to reflect on his actions, and you can see that in God of War Valhalla. Like, he talks about how a lot of the things that you might look at Kratos as a mindless brute, but in reality, he was a deep thinker. I mean, he was a Spartan general after all. The guy is not an idiot. He is very smart and very well knowledgeable about a lot of things. And when it comes to his actions, he actually does take into consideration everything that he's doing. Even if it may seem like it's the spur of the moment, the reality is that he actually understood what he was doing, and even if it meant horrifying changes to everyone around him. Like, just because he knew what he was doing was bad, doesn't mean he wasn't unaware that the actions he was taking part in wouldn't have grandiose consequences. For him, all that mattered during his Greece period was his vengeance. That's all that mattered. What mattered to him most of all. Even though the series received critical acclaim and awards, Jaffy, who did not work on the recent God of War games, believed they deviated from the character's essence and the franchise's spirit. I do agree with that. He does state that in his video. He suggests that personal experience should be channeled into new IPs and characters drawing comparison to Indiana Jones and settling down and becoming a father. I 100% agree with. His video does convey that. This is actually the best summary you can get. In a new direction, the God of War has garnered immense popularity and the best reviews in the series. The recent DLC has impressed fans, solidifying the franchise's success. While the future of the series remains uncertain, it is expected to continue thriving. I agree. It is. But, like, I understand what Dave Jaffy is stating, but Kratos is such an incredibly popular character that I don't... And the changes that have happened are a lot more popular with fans. As someone who's played every major God of War game, I've platinumed every major God of War game, including the HD remakes of God of War 3. God of War 3 came out on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 2 didn't have trophies, but I'm talking about, like, any HD remake, I got the platinum trophies on those. But I would say that the developers and the writers are doing Kratos justice. Like I said, the Valhalla DLC brings together both the new and the old games. Something like someone like myself who have been craving that connection to, like, not forget about those old games and not mitigate them to just like little summaries here and there within the new games. This Valhalla DLC really brings it all together and shows that, yeah, these games should be taken as a whole, not as a separate between original and soft reboot. More of like Kratos' journey from Ascension. I believe Ascension is the first game. I remember there was a mobile game during Chains of Olympus, I believe. I don't remember, but there was a mobile game. But within the games that you can actually access, Ascension is the first game in the series. You see Kratos' evolution from human to demigod to godhood to eventually abandoning godhood to learning to become a god once again and accepting that this is who he is and all his actions should be taken into account for what made him who he is to this day. But that's it for the video. Tell me what you think. I can see both angles from this, but I do like the new Kratos. Well, it's not even a new Kratos. It's more like Kratos throughout the years. Like every iteration of Kratos from every God of War game led him to what he is now in God of War Valhalla. But tell me what you think about this. Do you like the new God of War games? Do you hate them? I personally love them. And I think the series is still thriving. They're still incredible. God of War 3 still holds up incredibly well, and I would still say that the game has the best boss fights in the entire franchise. But regardless, yeah, I just noticed that Kratos has become too soft. Yeah, he becomes so soft that he literally rips people in half still and puts a chain around their neck and severs their head. That's how soft he is. It's more like Kratos understands the gravity of his violent actions and become more empathetic towards the people he cares about instead of just using them, and the second they piss him off, he'll just step on your head and crush you like a watermelon. But then again, in Ascension, I'm going on a tangent again, but I love the franchise. In God of War Ascension, he actually shows that he does care. Like when he goes to the Oracle in order to get the advice from her to try and free himself from Ares' bond, he does actually care about her. But then again, she was also using Kratos to try and stop Olympus' fall, believing that the God of War would end up destroying all of Olympus, not realizing that Kratos would kill Ares and take his office. But yeah, tell me what you think. I advise that you do watch Dave Jaffy's video and get your opinion on him before, reading the title on this and assuming, because I saw on Twitter a lot of people were assuming what they thought was completely negative. I say that he has a very, I would say he has a prudent argument about what he's stating. I disagree with what he says, but I would say he's very meaningful of where he's establishing his ground. But tell me what you think in the comments below. That's it for me. I'll stop talking, or I'm going to keep rambling about God of War forever. Anyway, like, dislike, goodbye.